So last time I talked a little bit about the eight worldly concerns and how they really support our craving and clinging of this life, the happiness of just this life. And for me, sometimes it's hard to identify them. And one of the ways I try to work with my mind is to identify when I've lost peace of mind. And I think that's helpful for me because it brings my attention inward instead of outward to all the conditions. And, you know, it's so easy to start criticizing and judging all the outward conditions. But when I can focus on, is my mind peaceful, then that's quite helpful. Because when our peace of mind is lost, then we are afflicted by disturbing emotions. And so just to review the eight worldly concerns, the four pairs: the attachment to material possessions and aversion to losing them, attachment to praise and aversion to blame, attachment to good reputation and aversion to a bad one, and then attachment to the pleasures of the five senses and aversion to unpleasant experiences. And so when these are operating and I'm under the control of disturbing emotions, I'm not really thinking clearly at all. And, these disturbing emotions of attachment and anger, jealousy, pride, etc. And when I'm not thinking clearly, then I also lose the ability to discriminate what's helpful and what's appropriate, what's not helpful. So, and when I lose that sense of discrimination, then discrimination is really necessary for self-control. So I think it's kind of pretty easy to see how this cascading events then can really cause one to do actions that are quite harmful. And whether we're acting in a constructive or destructive way, if it's accompanied by any disturbing emotions, it's going to cause problems. And I was thinking about identifying acting in a constructive way and how that would cause problems, because the destructive ones are pretty easy to identify. When my mind's afflicted with anger or aversion, I'm pretty clear about it. I can identify it quite quickly. But something in a more constructive vein, so I was thinking about the example of if I'm motivated to help others because I want to feel appreciated and loved, that this is, kind of a constructive action, but with that kind of motivation, it's going to bring problems. It's not going to be helpful. This kind of motivation will never satisfy. If I do things, try to be kind and helpful with the motivation of I want to feel appreciated, I'm never going to feel satisfied with that. It's never going to be enough. I'm never going to think, okay, now I feel enough, I'm satisfied, and I don't need any more. Because with that kind of motivation, looking outward to get validated, then is only going to bring frustration. It's just not going to work over the long haul at all. And what it ends up doing is setting up a habit of doing things to then look for the appreciation. And it just strengthened that kind of habit. And over time, then what arises, I think, is frustration and anger. And I think even if somebody does voice appreciation, oftentimes my mind will have the thought, they don't really mean it. So I think the key, at least for me, is to really come back to, is my mind peaceful or not? And to do that, I have to really slow down and really develop some sensitivity about what's going on inside. And so anytime there's a little nervous energy, anytime there's a little unease, I would say, often then what's running in the background is a disturbing emotion. And so to really try to slow down and think about, just ask the question, you know, is my mind peaceful? And if it is not, if there's some energy there that's a little disturbing, then to stop and then try to identify, you know, is it attachment? Am I anticipating something? Or is it, you know, aversion and, you know, I'm starting to get tight and angry? To just kind of make that determination. And by slowing down and doing that, then we get more clear about our own minds and what goes on inside, so that we can really practice keeping a balanced mind, so that we can do less harm and truly be able to help in a more constructive and heartfelt way.